carries. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you all for joining us today. We're going to be discussing the Thrive Technical Assistance Program for the small business beneficiaries. I'm joined today by Jamie Goucher, Division Manager for the Department of Economic Initiatives of Fairfax County. Welcome, Jamie. Happy that you were able to join us today.
Good morning to everyone joining us live, and hello to you if you happen to be watching this at a later date. As Maria just mentioned, I'm Jamie Goucher with the Fairfax County Department of Economic Initiatives, otherwise known as DEI. And on behalf of my colleagues, especially our program manager, Teresa Benacasa, I just want to say thank you for your interest and for tuning in. Thrive is an effort focused on technical assistance for members of the county's small business community, specifically those that were negatively affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Our agency, DEI, is proud to once again be working very closely with the Latino Economic Development Center. They go by LEDC. They will be the county's administrators for the program, and my partners from LEDC, Maria, who you just heard from, and Dominic, will walk us through eligibility requirements, some of the program specific details, some tips for using the online portal that will be live next week. And generally, we're here to answer any questions that you might have. Maria and Dominic are planning on speaking for 25 to 30 minutes, and then we'll answer any questions after that. If you're with us this morning and you have a question, please share it via the chat function, either during the presentation or again at the end, and we'll do our best to provide a response. With that, again, thank you, Maria. Please take it away.
Thank you, Jamie. We just want to let everybody know that this program is brought to you by the Fairfax County Department of Economic Initiatives. The DEI team leads programs and initiatives to foster economic development and position Fairfax County to be an economically competitive and prosperous community. This program is brought to you by the Fairfax County government. The Fairfax County Board of Supervisors authorized $7 million in ARPA federal funds to establish the Thrive program. Fairfax County is managed by the Fairfax County Department of Economic Initiatives. And the Latino Economic Development Center will be the grant administrator for this program. So our agenda for today, we're going to go over brief introductions. We're going to discuss the Thrive program. We're going to discuss the application requirements. We're going to go over the application, how to complete your application through the Thrive portal, how to get help, and lastly, we're going to close with questions. Again, we have a lot of information that we're going to be covering today, so we ask that you please consider the following throughout this presentation. Please place your questions in the chat box throughout the presentation. Questions will be answered during the designated time slot at the end of the presentation. And we just want you to be aware that the presentation will be recorded and it will also be made available on the Fairfax County website. Okay. So just a little bit about us, the grant administrators, LEDC. LEDC is a nonprofit community-based organization. Our mission is to drive the economic and social advancement of low to moderate income families by equipping them with the skills and tools that they need to achieve financial independence. DCI, the Direct Community Investments Department, is a program of LEDC. DCI partners with government and private entities to rapidly deploy financial assistance available through grant programs to vulnerable communities. DCI is a trusted partner and collaborator with Fairfax County and the Department of Economic Initiatives, DEI. So LEDC will be involved throughout the process. LEDC is the contract administrator for the program. We will be responsible for contracted the business coaches and the consultants. We'll be responsible for the application and eligibility review for the small business beneficiaries. And we're also going to be responsible for providing assistance and additional support for the application process. The Thrive program. The goals of the program is to help small business build capacity and meet individual business goals, address economic and consumer shifts, and support business planning. How will services be delivered? Services will be delivered through specialized consulting services, through specialized services, through targeted one-on-one technical assistance and analysis to small businesses from specialized consultants focused on different areas of services, such as marketing, operations, and financial planning. The small business beneficiaries applying for the program will have access to industry experts in different areas of focus. This will include the categories of marketing, finance, and operations. These categories can encompass a variety of work, so here's a list of the specific types of one-on-one targeted delivery that will be available to eligible small businesses. For the category of marketing, that can encompass the following services: brand consulting, graphic design, website development, photography, or digital presence. For the category of operations, that can encompass set up point of sale systems, set up appointment systems, setting up bookkeeping systems such as QuickBooks, human resources, consulting services, and staff talent acquisition. For the category of finance, that can encompass financial planning, financial health, and tax advisory. The program process for the small business applicants will consist of 4 key phases. During the first phase, applicants will be required to complete their application through the portal, beginning with some initial eligibility screening questions. Applicants will enter the business contact and financial information into the application to determine eligibility for the program. Then, if found eligible, in the screening questions, applicants will be allowed to complete additional application questions and upload documents. After submitting the application, applicants will have access to the business health assessment. The business health assessment does not affect program eligibility. In phase 2 of the application process, the LEDC review team will review submitted applications to confirm eligibility. The review team may reach out to you by email to ask for further clarification or information. So please check your email regularly and respond as soon as possible to any further requests from the team. In phase 3, following the application review, applicants will be notified by LEDC if the business was approved to be a small business beneficiary for the Thrive program. In phase 4, the award of grant services, beneficiaries will be contacted by their assigned Thrive Business Coach via email. In this program, business coaches will serve as the beneficiaries' case managers and help determine the targeted assistance by evaluating their business health assessment and results. Small business beneficiaries will then be matched with a Thrive business consultant who will provide them with up to $10,000 of technical assistance based off the beneficiary's results from the business health assessment. Please note that small business beneficiaries will be asked to sign agreements with their consultants and coaches to ensure all parties' understanding of the Thrive services as a beneficiary that the beneficiary will receive. Okay. Eligibility requirements. Business applying for the program must have a principal place of business in Fairfax County. This includes the towns of Herndon, Vienna, and Clifton. Businesses must demonstrate that they have 49 or fewer employees, that they must have been established and generating revenue prior to December 31st of 2021. They must demonstrate that they have experienced negative impact during the pandemic between any annual or consecutive 6-month period utilizing 2019, 2020, 2021, or 2022, or by either demonstrating a 5% annual decrease in revenue or a 10% decline in employees. Business that are sole proprietors, C corporations, S corporations, LLC corporations, or partnerships, including home-based businesses, are eligible to apply. Please note that sole proprietors will only be eligible if they can demonstrate that 50% or more of its income comes from an eligible business type. Okay. And as additional side note as well, if you don't demonstrate a decrease for the entire calendar year, you can report any 6-month consecutive period. Some of the required documentation that you'll be asked to present and upload through the portal will be the owner ID or representative ID, your business professional and occupational license, your BPOL, a W-9, your business EIN verification documentation. Additional documents may be required, such as signed and dated tax returns or a payroll roster. Okay, now I'm going to hand it off to my colleague, Dominique Rosenthal. Welcome, Dominic, and he'll be talking to us about how to apply through the Thrive portal. Welcome, Dominic. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Maria. It's a pleasure to be here. So yes, I will be going through some tips and tricks for navigating the portal. Maria, if you can go to the next slide, please. So to get started, the LADC Thrive team is happy to help with any questions you might have while completing the application or at any time during the Thrive program. The best way to contact our team is through the live chat at the bottom right of the application portal, highlighted below, or through email at thrive@ladcmetro.org, which is highlighted above. Our team is bilingual in English and Spanish, but if additional language access is needed, we are also able to accommodate. So please just let us know. Next slide, please. As far as completing your application, applications will be accepted through an online portal. In order to access the application, you will create an account using your email. Enter your email on the registration page and you will receive an email to set up your password. This portal will be a one-stop shop for all aspects of the Thrive program. So please make note of your username and password so you can easily re-enter the portal later. Once you have registered, you will be directed to the Thrive application homepage. To begin the application, click Go to Application on the homepage. The picture provided shows the homepage after you have logged in and clicked this. Please note that the application has 4 sections, which you can access through the 4 tabs that will appear as you move through the application. These are contact information, screening eligibility, business information, and attestation. In order to enter data into any of these sections, you must first click on the blue edit button at the top right page and proceed. Next slide, please. Some helpful banners. In order to enter data into any of these sections, you must first click on the blue edit button at the top right of the page and then proceed. Next slide. Remember to save your progress as you move through the application. Once you have completed all of the application questions on a page, click the blue Save button at the top right corner. Please note that the Save and Edit button are in the same location of your portal. If your data has saved successfully, the button will change to say Edit again. If the form does not save, please check that you have completed all the required questions. As you can see in this photo, the person did not complete certain fields and received a message in red stating, "This field is required." Please answer the questions and then try to save again. Next slide. Now we will move on to the first section of the application, contact information, and one important note about it. As part of the application, you will be asked to enter your business address to ensure you meet the geography criteria to be eligible for the Thrive program. The address you enter will automatically run through an address validation software to confirm the address is located within Fairfax County. In order to prevent delays of your application review and ensure that the validator can correctly analyze your business address, please make sure you follow the instructions in the section. Do not include the street type, such as street or road, in the first business street address field seen in the top left corner of each screenshot. Instead, please follow the correct format on your left. Notice in the example how the first field has been filled out as just 123 address, and the second field, street address type, has been used to select street. This is the correct format. In the example on the right, however, the first field has been filled out incorrectly, where the street type has been typed in the business street address field. Next slide, please. Now we move on to discussing the second section of your application, which is business eligibility, demonstrating COVID impact. You have two options to demonstrate COVID impact, either a 5% decrease in annual revenue or a 10% decrease in number of employees. You can report on any consecutive 2-year periods between 2019 and 2022, for example, in between the years 2019 and 2020. You only need to meet one of the above criteria to qualify for Thrive. You do not need to qualify for both criteria. Next slide, please. So now we'll discuss eligibility screening through the portal. Remember, in order to be eligible, you will need to show proof of one economic injury, either through a decrease in revenue or a decrease in employees. In this section, we share what applicants will see when they try to demonstrate annual decrease in revenue with any of the corresponding years: 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022. Please note that comparison is only needed for 2 years, though you have 4 years in which you can enter data for. For each entry point, the portal has a built-in calculator to make it easy for you to see if your business qualifies for Thrive. First, the application will prompt you with questions to see if you have a qualifying decrease in annual revenue. If you select yes, you will be prompted to enter your annual revenue for each year. This data is reflected in Part 1, Line 1 in your Schedule C, which is part of your Form 1040. No need to make calculations whether you meet the 5% decrease. The portal can calculate this for you with our built-in software. After entering the totals, the software will also detect which years demonstrate said decrease. Based on this calculation, you will be able to then provide proof of these numbers for the years corresponding to a green check mark, as seen in the screenshot on your bottom right. The eligible years will be shown after you enter data and then click Save. Next slide, please. All right. If your business is not qualified under the annual revenue decrease option, the application will provide you with a similar calculator to see if your business qualifies under the annual decrease in employees section. Please enter the number of employees for the same corresponding years. Again, no need to make calculations whether you meet the 10% decrease. The portal can calculate this for you. If the system does not detect an eligible annual decrease, neither in employees nor revenue, the portal will prompt you with additional screening questions to see if you qualify using 6-month intervals instead of year intervals. Next slide, please. Now, regarding the application portal, here are screenshots which you will see before you complete the submission process. This is the attestation section where you will see a banner that states your application is ready to be submitted. This pops up when all questions and data have been answered once you've reached this page. Next slide, please. Following the attestation, as the final steps to submit your application in the portal, you will click on the blue Submit button at the top right of the portal. You will then see a pop-up window appear where you can select Submitted and then click the blue Save button. Images of said steps are provided above. Please make sure, once you have done these steps, that you receive a submission confirmation email. If you have not received this email, please check your spam folder. You will then be granted access to complete your business health assessments. Next slide, please. After you have received a confirmation email that your application has been submitted, you will be able to access the Thrive Business Health Assessment. The assessment allows your business coach to identify the most pressing challenges and opportunities for your business. The Business Health Assessment does not affect program eligibility, so please be as transparent as possible as you proceed. This assessment is broken down to 4 categories: business operational capacity, marketing capacity, management capacity, and financial capacity. We encourage you to complete the business health assessment as soon as possible, and please allot at least 30 minutes to complete. Next slide, please. In order to prevent any delays in the review of your application, please make sure your documents meet the basic criteria provided in the document checklist. Here are a few things to pay special attention to in order to ensure your application can be reviewed quickly by the LEDC team. Please make sure that the documents you upload are clear and unredacted. Please do not cross out any information in your documents. The information in the requested documents must be reviewed, and applications cannot be approved with redacted documents. All documents submitted are treated with the utmost confidentiality and stored onto a secure platform. Next, the tax or pay, could you go back, please? Yep, I was just making the next bullet point. The tax or payroll documents you provide must match the years listed on the portal, which are 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022, just to restate. And for Forms 1040 and Schedule Cs, make sure they have been filed with the IRS and that they are signed and dated. If you do not have a copy as filed with the IRS that contains both a signature and date, we recommend you provide a tax return transcript instead, which you can get directly through the IRS website. For your W-9, make sure that when you fill it out that you provide your EIN, employer identification number, or your SSN, social security number. You do not need to write or provide both, but please make sure your form is signed and dated, and that all the required fields, including the checkboxes, are filled out. Next slide, please. So here are some important Thrive program timelines that we just wanted to gloss over. As of December 12th, 2023 is when the application portal opens at 10 a.m. Then on December 21st, the application portal will close at 4 p.m. Then on January 2nd, 2024, the Thrive program will be selecting up to 250 businesses for the first cohort. And on January 16th, 2024, the application portal will open again once those businesses have been selected. Then on January 26th, 2024, the application portal will close once again at 4 p.m., which then 3 days later on the 29th, there will be up to 350 businesses selected. Now, if supplies exceed demand, a lottery will be held. If you would like more information, please go on the next slide, please. Please visit the following and ask questions using the following resources. You may have you will have access to live chat support available through the portal in the bottom right screen. You can also email questions through thrive@ledcmetro.org. You can also access webinars, FAQs, and additional information using the LEDC Thrive website, as you see below in the hyperlink. Or you can please go to the Fairfax County webpage, which is also hyperlinked here. Thank you so much. And does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Dominic. And thank you everyone for joining and attending this session so far. My name is Laura Bentley, also with LEDC, and I will be reviewing some of the questions that have come in on the chat and any more that come in for this period. So if you do have any questions that have come forward for you during the presentation, please feel free to type them in the Q&A from the bottom of your screen. while we're speaking here, and I will get to those as well. And of course, if additional questions come up for you after, where you have a particular specific case pertaining to your business, feel free to, again, email us and we'll be happy to assist you. So questions that have come in at this time during the presentation. The first one we have is, will there be access to the presentation following this session? And there will be. This presentation has been recorded, and the recording will be made available on the Fairfax County Thrive website following the session. Secondly, we have a question. Will there be 2 different time periods or date periods that we can apply? Yes. So as Dominic mentioned, there are 2 cohorts for application periods. The first one in December. And in that cohort, you may complete your application, submit your application. If you would prefer, there is also a second cohort. So if for whatever reason you're not ready to submit your application at this time, you may do so in the second cohort. If you apply in the first cohort, and we recommend that you do, of course, if you apply in the first cohort, you do not need to submit a second application during the second cohort. Your application will be considered during the second cohort if you are not selected in the first cohort. But yes, there are 2 time windows when the application process will be open. A second question we have in here, the question is the 250 from the first cohort in addition to the 350 in the second cohort? Thus, is there a total of 600 slots available? That is correct. So there are 250 applications that will be selected in the first cohort, and an additional 350 applications selected from the second cohort. So we anticipate a total of 600 businesses will be accepted through the program. Another question that has come in is, how is the EIN submitted to the application? Do we need an EIN verification letter? The answer is yes, your business does need to submit a document showing your EIN, and yes, this can be done through an EIN verification letter. And I believe, I'm just checking to see if there are any additional questions that have come in. I don't see any further questions at this time. We'll give it a few seconds here, half a minute. And as we're waiting here for any last questions, just wanted to reiterate, of course, that if you have any questions following the presentation during the application period, please do feel free to reach out to the LADC team via email, and we would be happy to assist you. I see a couple questions coming in as well. Okay, the first question is just confirming that if someone is not selected in the first cohort, will they have an additional chance in the second cohort? That is correct. So if you submit your application during the first cohort, you have a chance to be selected for that first cohort's 250 businesses selected. If you are not selected during the first cohort, you will be automatically considered for the selection of the second cohort. So you do not need to reapply. And yes, you would be considered in the second cohort if you submitted your application for the first cohort. We have an additional question here. The question is, when providing copies of our tax returns that include Schedule Cs and 1040s, do you only need a signed copy from us, or do you need a transcript from the IRS? So we need one of the 2 documents. So it can either be your copy of the signed and filed tax return, so it must be filed with the IRS. But if you have that copy, that is sufficient to be presented, redacted, completely as that document is signed and filed. An additional option, if you don't have access to that copy for whatever reason, you can request a transcript of your filed tax return directly from the IRS. So both of those are options, but you do not need to provide both options. An additional question we have here, the question is, how will we be notified if we were not selected in the first cohort? So all applicants who submit an application during cohort 1 will be notified following the selection if they were selected in cohort 1 or if they were not. So you will be notified via email. And again, if you had submitted your application in cohort 1 and you were not selected for cohort 1, your application will automatically be considered for cohort 2. That's all of the questions we have at this time. We have a few more moments here. We have an additional question that's come in. The question is, will the services from the coaches be provided in person or virtually? So the answer to this question is it depends on the preference of the beneficiary and the coach or consultant. So we are accepting coaches who offer services both in person or virtually, and could perhaps they offer them in both circumstances. So that would be something that could be discussed with the coach or consultant at the time that a business is paired with that coach or that consultant. We have a question that is, will the recipient be able to request a specific coach or consultant? The recipient will not be able to request a specific coach. What we have is a roster of vetted coaches and consultants who have gone through an extensive evaluation process to determine that they are able to provide this Thrive specific services. And so LEDC will be matching businesses with the coaches, bearing in mind, factors that we have identified about the coach's strengths and about the business application as well. Now, at the time of the assignment of consultants, that is also a roster of consultants that has been vetted for this program. And so the benefit of the business health assessment and the initial meetings a beneficiary will have with their assigned business coach is to establish what is the best fit for the business in terms of the services that Thrive offers and the consultants that Thrive has on its roster. And so from there can be a recommendation of the coach or the consultant, but ultimately the program administrator, LEDC, will be assigning those coaches and consultants in a way that allows the program to move smoothly while still meeting the needs of the business. We have a question here to clarify that the business needs to be established before December 31st, 2021. That is correct. To be eligible, you must be established before December 31st, 2021, and revenue generating. We have a question here. Is there a higher chance of getting picked for the service if the business is women-owned, minority-owned, or is it strictly based on the COVID impact on the business? The qualifications to be selected are those that were listed earlier in the presentation. So those are the eligibility requirements for business selection. We have a question here. Does the W-9 serve as EIN verification, or do you need a separate EIN verification letter? The W-9 is sufficient. Mhm. There's a question here that is, what is the duration of the coaching process? So that is something that when the assignment has been made between the beneficiary and their coach, those conversations will be scheduled between the coach and the business. The goal of that process is, of course, to have that initial meeting with the coach very shortly after the assignment, so that the discussion between the business and the coach about what is the plan of services for Thrive can be had as soon as possible, so that then we can get the beneficiaries on their way with their particular consultants to then complete the award of the services. So the duration of the coaching is a little bit dependent on that individual interaction, but the goal of that coaching meeting is really to dive into the results of the business health assessment that businesses will have already completed and coaches will have already reviewed separately, to just discuss those results for the purpose of determining the consultant pairing for Thrive. So that would not be a long duration. That would probably be a meeting or two to get to the answer of that question. And then the coaches will be kind of monitoring the progress along the way with your consultants, just to be able to check in and make sure that everything's going smoothly. But the duration of the program will be spent the majority of the program will be spent with the business consultants to receive the actual services of the program. And there's a question in the chat regarding the duration of the program, the timeline of the program. So the Thrive program is scheduled to run through the end of 2024. However, in order to give businesses the time frame that they need to receive their consulting services, we will be making sure to jumpstart that program very early on, as you can see from the timeline, early in 2024, so that businesses have a condensed time frame to receive those services, so that they can then apply those services as soon as possible to their business and see those results and impact of the program soon. So we would anticipate that the active time of the program would be more in the first half of the year as opposed to the latter half. However, Thrive will run through the end of 2024. There's a question regarding if a business is assigned with a coach or a consultant and feel that that relationship needs to be switched and it's not working for the business, what can they do about that situation? In that case, of course, we recommend speaking with your business coach, but ultimately LADC as program administrator, if there are any concerns about the coaches or consultants, you can of course reach out to us via our email, and we will definitely look into that situation. All of the coaches and consultants have again gone through a significant evaluation process, both with LADC and our county partners, and a significant evaluation process there, and have been vetted for this list. So we are confident that they are subject matter experts in their fields and have a proven track record in the service that they are contracted to provide through Thrive. But of course, we welcome any feedback or comments that a business might have about their experience in the program. Those are all the main questions at this time. Give a few more moments here. And as we're closing up here, just want to reiterate again, any questions that you all may have following this presentation, you can email those at thrive@ledcmetro.org. And we'll be happy to follow up with you there if you have any specific questions regarding your business. And of course, there are a lot of pieces of information on the Thrive website. This recording will be made available, so we encourage you to review those resources and feel free to share with your community as well. It's an exciting program. We're very excited to kick it off with you all and be able to share that impact and bring that impact to your businesses. I'm not seeing any further questions coming in at the Q&A at this time. So just one final reminder, the application for cohort 1 does open at 10 a.m. on December 12th, and the application will close on the 21st of December at 4 p.m. So please stay tuned for the link to go live on the Thrive website, 10 a.m. On December 12th, which is next Tuesday. So we look forward to you all applying. And thank you for your time today. One final question that's come in here in the last moment here, so I'll speak to it before signing off, is how will the coaches or consultants be evaluated on their impact on the business that they were hired to provide? So there will be a survey as well at the end of the program that beneficiaries are required to complete to give us that type of feedback on their business and their business experience, of course. And as I mentioned, at any point in time, if there is any feedback from coaches or from small business beneficiaries on their experience, you're always welcome to share that with us directly. But there will be a formal survey as well at the end of the program. And with that, I am seeing that all of the questions have been answered. So I believe we can sign off the session. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate your attention and look forward to seeing you all apply for cohort 1. And in the meantime, happy end of year and enjoy your holiday season as well.